Okay, let's do this. On today's episode of the CLS Experience, we have a very special treat. He's the co-founder and creator of the iconic and trailblazing E-Entertainment Network. He's an entrepreneur, philanthropist, real estate developer, and pioneer. Just a juggernaut in all facets of life and a terrific human being. Please welcome the visionary and iconic Alan Mruvka. How you doing, Alan?
I'm good, Craig. Thank you. Thanks for having me today.
It's my pleasure. And like I was saying before we went on air, I'm a big fan of yours. I love the journey. I came here for the audience to hear about it. And I know you've done some of these in the past. We will definitely keep it different. And you have my word. We will manufacture magic here today.
All right, great.
All right, we're going to start off. We're going to get a little weird. You ready for me?
I'm excited.
Alan, what is your superpower?
My superpower is probably I'm a very motivating person. I don't take no for an answer. And I'm very positive. Very, very positive.
Those are some of the best traits there are. I could definitely relate to those.
Yeah,
Persistence and optimism.
You got to have it in today's world.
Oh, especially today. Love that. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Like I said, positive, determined, and hungry.
Ooh,
Hungry.
I love that. What's something very interesting about you that not a lot of people might know?
Probably just how determined I am. I'm very laid back on the outside when I meet people, talk to people, but inside I'm very determined. I, eat and sleep my target, my goal, and I do everything I can. I've busted more laptop computers, kicking them off my bed at night when I fall asleep than you can imagine.
That's great. I believe it. I love that. What makes you feel most alive?
Just an accomplishment is always a great thing. But I'm a very outdoors person, so whether I'm on a boat, hiking, outside, I feel the best. I'm one with nature, and I always push that.
I can definitely appreciate that. What is your definition of success, Alan?
Well, at the end of the day, happiness is the definition of success. I mean, success is different to everybody. What makes me happy is accomplishing goals. But family, religion, whatever makes you happy is success. You have to, at the end of the day, you have to be happy. It's really the most important thing.
Yeah. And it's something that I truly realized not too long ago when I pivoted and went all in on my passion and so forth to help people and revamp people's mindsets. Like, if you're not happy and you're not fulfilled, no matter how much money you're making, like, what's the point? We're only here for a certain amount of time, not to sound too deep.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
And helping people is one of the most important things you can do in life. I'm a big believer in giving back, and it's something I donate a significant amount of my time to, and I'm passionate about it. So that's a great thing you mentioned.
I knew we were a lot alike, but I didn't know we were this aligned. This is great. Now we're going to get deep for a second. When did you officially become Alan 2.0?
I started E a long time ago, and I pivoted businesses. I've always been in entertainment and in real estate. So I've always done both. I've pivoted back and forth. But about 5 years ago, I consciously sort of put entertainment on the back burner and focused more on real estate. And it was just a new beginning for me, an exciting thing. And I'm probably more passionate than ever. And I probably work harder than ever.
Wow.
And so I'm into it.
I love that. And you always have to, I don't want to say reinvent yourself, but you always have to keep it interesting, like with your own mindset, like new challenges to tackle or new exciting ventures, because that's what keeps life so exciting, right?
Absolutely. And I'm one that I do that, and I believe in it. I look for opportunity all the time. I've always said I could open up a newspaper and find some business opportunity just reading any paper on any given day. And I always tell people, They ask me about it, and I say, read as many things as you can, watch as many serious television shows as you can, and ideas are in the air, and they come to you, and you get passionate about it, and you go for it.
Oh, I love that because people always ask me like, who are my mentors? And it's not the sexiest answer, but I have so many journals and I use them. Like I utilize the world as my playground, like from a movie, from a show, from a book, a character somewhere. I just always jot down ideas. I love the way you said it. If you listen closely, if you look carefully, there's a message in everything.
Absolutely. Since college, or even earlier, I would say that I've always had someone that I admired, looked up to, read a book about that person, him and her or her. And it's always interesting. You always get great things out of it. There's always, you just have to pick up one or two little things out of everything you read or watch. And it helps a lot.
Absolutely agree with that 100%. So I told you we're going to jump around a little bit. I want the audience to get a feel for the journey and so forth. And also because I'm a big fan of yours, I do a lot of homework and also preparation breeds confidence. You grew up in New York and you went to school for architecture. Is that right?
Yeah, I was born in the Bronx. Me and J-Lo and Cardi B were all born and grew up in Queens and New Jersey, and then was not a good student in school. I actually went to the only college that accepted me at the time, which was the University of Miami. And when I got there, I've always had two passions. My two passions were entertainment and architecture. And when I got to school, I went full speed into architecture, went 4 years to Miami, a year and a half at Pratt Institute in New York, and then came back and lived in New York for a while, doing real estate right after college.
Yeah. And right from the beginning, since you can remember, and this is why I was looking forward to this episode so much because I'm a diehard movie guy, always have been. Like, that's my thing. You loved movies from a very early age, right?
Yeah, I had it in my blood since probably I can remember 5 years old. I remember the first movie I went to. I remember the TV shows I used to watch. I was addicted to television since I was 5. If my mother wanted me to get into the bathtub when I was 5, she'd have to wheel in an old television into the bathroom, and I would sit there and watch the sitcom and get out of the tub a half an hour later. When I was growing up in New York, on the local channel there, I think it was like channel 11 or WPIX 11 or something, they used to have this thing called the $1 Million Movie, and they would show a movie of the week, and they would actually show the same movie every night for the week, and I would watch that movie every night for the week. So it's very easy for me to watch movies over and over again. I'm a huge movie and television fanatic, and it's been in my blood my whole life.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm the same way. Like when I like a movie, really my personality, when I like anything, I overdo it. I guess I get that from my father. But like if I love a movie, like I can watch it every time it's on. And I remember like a past relationship, an ex-girlfriend of mine, she's like, how do you watch the same movie like all the time? Like, because I love it. If it's
Yeah,
not broke, don't fix it. I just love the movie. It puts a smile on my face or I get inspired by it every single time.
right, 100%. I mean, I've probably seen The Godfather 250 times, and every time you're flipping through the channel, if certain movies are on, you just have to watch it, and you stay up till 2, 3 in the morning watching the movie.
I'm the same way.
You get absorbed into it, and you know.
I love it. So was it the movie specifically, or was it the entertainment business that you gravitated towards?
Well, it's the entertainment business, but originally it was all about movies. When I got out of school, I was trying to do everything I can to get into the movie business, even though I was in real estate. When I got out of architecture school, there was a little bit of a recession going on, so I couldn't get a job as an architect. They were laying off architects. So I started buying up little brownstones in Jersey City, New Jersey, and I was converting it to condos. So while I was working on renovating my brownstones, I was thinking of how to get into the movie business. I was trying to option scripts. I was coming up with ideas. I was a big MTV fan in those days. And I used to watch a ton of MTV. And MTV was just, in those days, MTV was just a VJ and music videos.
That's
And
it.
then we had some interviews. So my original concept, one day I just thought of I said, why don't I do an MTV of movies and television? It's not out there. We looked at, I thought of cable television in its infancy as a newspaper, where you had the headlines in headline news, you had sports in ESPN, you had weather in the Weather Channel, stocks in CNBC, but you didn't have that entertainment section. So I created the entertainment section of cable television.
I loved it.
Today, of course, it's all narrowcasted. I used to say television was like a newspaper. It was like a newspaper. Today, it's like a magazine stand, golf, home and garden, whatever your narrow specific thing you want to watch, there's a network about it today.
Yeah, it's true. And as a movie buff, and I just love the entertainment business myself. I remember when I was a young kid, like I would love after school when they had the show on that had the movie trailers coming out, right? Because it was kind of before the internet where like you can Google a trailer or whatever. It was so exciting. And just the thought process of the network to be like the MTV, but for movies, it's genius. It's a no-brainer. And obviously, I know it wasn't simple to get it off and running, but just the idea worked so much. But before that, didn't you head to LA to kind of see how to sell a script and stuff like that? Did you make any progress with that?
Yeah, what happened was, ideas are in the air. I really believe that. And ideas come about when their time is to come. And in addition to loving MTV and thinking about what to do, I had been going to LA to sort of think about how to get into the movie business. And I went to a seminar of how to sell your screenplay to a motion picture studio. So I sat there all day, and there was a bunch of speakers, a lot of studio presidents, but none of them talked about how to sell their script to a studio. They all talked about or complained about the high cost of advertising a movie. They would get up there. So I sort of thought all day, and I said, how can I advertise a movie nationally at a much cheaper rate than they're doing it now? Because at that time, they would spend whatever, 50, 60, 80 million dollars on a movie, and they would depend on a black and white newspaper ad to sell that movie. It was really the worst way to advertise your investment. They would either have trailers in the theater, which you'd have to be a movie goer and go to the movies, several weeks or a month before the movie was coming out, or just see the ad in the newspaper. There was no other way to really promote a movie. There was the only other entertainment channel or show out there was Entertainment Tonight. That was out there when I first started E. But other than that, when I went out to LA that time, when I went to that seminar, I had been walking in Westwood, California, which is right in Los Angeles, and I saw a crowd around a store window. And I was like, what's going on? I went up to the store window. It was probably 20 people around this window. And all that was in the window was a television showing trailers. It was the craziest thing. And it just hit me like people love to watch trailers. You like to get to the movies early to watch a trailer. And, it was something that people love to do. So that was part of how it came about. It was
Trailer's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I could relate, like getting to the movie early. Like if you weren't 20 minutes early to the movies, you were late because then you missed the big blockbuster trailers. And
Right.
and just off topic for a second, like how cool and how important is it when a movie has an awesome trailer that comes out so early in advance, especially back in the day? Like it gets you so excited. It's the best. The music, put together a good trailer, it's everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because if a movie has a huge opening weekend and drops off, you knew that the trailer was great. But when people went to see the movie, the word of mouth was bad.
Yeah.
But everybody does love trailers. So that was the original.
On the contrary, sometimes I'll see a movie late because the trailer didn't look so good, and I end up loving it. And I say to myself, they should have prepared a better trailer.
Hey, marketing is everything.
Yes.
In life, in all business, it's all about marketing.
Yes.
But it's an interesting thing, and people love it, and that's what I pursued.
So the writing was on the wall for you. How did it start to come to fruition to really put this together?
Well, when I returned back from Los Angeles, I decided to pursue that idea, and then I actually knew somebody at Showtime. I knew nothing about starting a cable network, and I didn't know much about the entertainment business. So I knew somebody at Showtime, and I contacted him. I said, "Can you write a business plan for this? I have this idea." And he connected me with who turned out to be my partner, Larry Namer, who was very experienced in the cable business. And Larry and I wrote the business plan. We couldn't be more wrong. We did the plan, we did the numbers, and it said we needed $6.9 million to start the network. You know, you need like $1 billion to start a network. We had it at 6.9 million. And Larry and I together, we became very close friends and partners. And Larry was like a mentor to me because Larry, although I had a vision and I had the creative desire, I didn't know anything about the logistics of putting a network together, transponders, you know, all that kind of stuff. So Larry and I set out to raise the money. I went back and forth to Los Angeles while I was renovating my brownstones in Jersey City. I would fly back to LA every 2 or 3 weeks, for 2 or 3 weeks. So I was back and forth. I lived out of a suitcase for 3 years.
Wow.
I pitched the network with Larry probably about 400 times, literally 400 times. And at the end of 3 years and at the end of 400 meetings, I didn't have one single dollar, not a single dollar. When you go to architecture school, you go to art school. And I knew nothing about raising money. I didn't even know what an investment banker was. So I was just taking whatever meeting people told me might be good to take, an attorney, an investor. Now I was all over the place, just pitching the network. I didn't raise a single dollar.
So Alan, you didn't get, obviously I'm sure you're human, you know, you got a little dejected, but you never were even close to throwing in the towel?
Well, you know, you think about it, but the thing is, I always pride myself by saying I'm a spoiled brat. The more people that said no, the more people said, I'm going to show them. I'm all in, you know.
I love it.
I don't take failure is not an option. So, although I failed plenty of times, but in this case, I was like, this is too good. And if I don't do it, somebody else will. So I'm not giving up. So one day I was flying back from Los Angeles after getting rejected another, you know, couple dozen times. And I was sitting next to a guy on the plane. I had a way that I would get upgraded. I didn't have any money, but I got upgraded to first class. I sat down. The guy was in a suit, and he had a stack of what's called the Hollywood Reporter. It's an entertainment magazine. It was a daily at that time, and he was speed reading through a stack of Hollywood Reporters. So I figured this guy's in the entertainment business. I have him for 5 hours on the plane. I'm going to pitch him. So I struck up a conversation with the guy. I pitched him the idea, and he was like, this is an amazing idea. He's like, give me 3 weeks or give me a month and I'll get you the money. He said, it won't even be a question of whether you can get the money. It'll be a question of whose money you want to accept. I was like, okay, sounds good to me. I'll go for it. As it turned out, he was an in-house investment banker for Warner Communications. So he was like the right guy. It was even before Time and Warner merged. And he took me down to Wall Street. And I didn't realize that there's actually companies and funds out there that are looking to invest money. So Larry flew in, and we had at that time put together a small group of executives. We had 2 guys from MTV, 2 guys from A&E, and really the 6 of us went and pitched the network. One company on Wall Street bit. They put together a little group of investors, but they only gave us $2.5 million. You can't even make a movie for $2.5 million. You can make a low budget movie for 2.5, much less a network. So I dropped everything in Jersey and went out to Los Angeles, set up shop. One of the executives that we had on board, he was a professor at the University of Texas in their film program. He brought in 20 interns or 25 interns from Texas into Hollywood, and we set up cots in the studio, and you know, they slept in the studio, and we got the network up and running in 3 months for the 2.5.
3 months?
3 months with the 2.5 million. And once we got on the air, the same investment banking company brought us $50 million 3 months later, another 3 months later, another 50 million, and another 3 months later, 100 million. So we ended up getting another $200 million in the next 9 months. We grew to 1,000 people. Eventually, one of my partners, Time Warner, bought me out and bought everybody else out, and then flipped it to Comcast. And today it's an NBC Comcast company worth about $14 billion.
14 billion with a B.
Yeah, 14 billion.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
and it's a part of pop culture today.
oh yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
And the way you just told the second half of that story, like it seemed very smooth, but I can imagine as you're going through it, it was probably the ride of a lifetime, obviously highs and lows and stuff like that. But once they agreed to give you the $2.5 million to get on the network, like what was the next step to actually get on TV from there?
Well, we had to set up shop, and Larry had to tell me how to get on TV because I didn't know. But it's a very practical way you get on TV. You send it up to an uplink, and the uplink sends it up to a satellite, and the satellite, makes it rain on the whole country, and whatever cable company there is, they pick it up off the dish, off the satellite. The funny thing was renting the satellite was $250,000 a month,
Really?
and we didn't have that kind of money. So I made a deal with them, pay a little up front, pay a little in the back. They made me guarantee the payments, the $250,000 payments, which was a total joke because I just had a rented apartment. There was like nothing they can get. So it's like, all right, I'll personally guarantee the satellite payments. So I was all in, and Larry showed me how to do it, and we did it. We got it up and running.
You basically, as the old expression goes, you burn the ships. There was no retreat. This is what's happening. You made a decision, and that's just that.
Exactly right. It's like a poker game. I was all in. So it's like, but I was confident it was going to work. It was a great idea. The best ideas are ideas that when you tell people, they say, doesn't that exist? That was the thing. Isn't that out there already? Doesn't exist. And it's like, it doesn't exist and I'm doing it. So it was a race. When we were getting it out there, we didn't want someone to steal the idea. So we would put out there that, this new network is being backed by real estate developer, Alan Mruvka. So people thought like some New York real estate developer was backing it, but of course they didn't have any money. But what happened was when we announced it at the cable convention, three more networks announced against us. VH1 at that time changed, they pivoted and they decided to be a 24-hour entertainment network. Ted Turner launched a network, and then this guy Roy Spears, who started the Home Shopping Network, he announced a network called Entertainment Today. So we had three competitors all of a sudden. So it's like I said, ideas are in the air, and I don't know if they all saw my idea and decided to start it, or just like, wouldn't it be a good idea to have a 24-hour entertainment promotion network? So all of a sudden, we are fighting three large sharks, but we beat them all. And I always say the way to beat these companies is to every company needs that person, that guy or girl out there that's working the parties, working the people, taking the meetings. Those companies are too big. They just announced it and they had a staff, but we were out there personally. I was out there pounding the pavement every night. Every night I was out there meeting and talking to whoever the people were to talk to make this thing happen.
This is one of my favorite episodes of the CLS experience. And I've had on some juggernauts because just your mindset, like you knew your idea, your baby, if you will, was so good and so innovative that there was no even thought of if this doesn't work. That wasn't even in your head. Like that's what, like the real, like pioneers and trailblazers since, from any time I've ever done history or studying or any of those legends, like that's the mindset you have to have, like just such strong self-belief. And I admire that trait about you so much. I have to ask you, who came up with the little logo, the E with the exclamation point?
Well, E was called Movie Time for the first 6 years. We at one point we decided to promote that we were larger than movies, because we really were, but the name Movie Time sort of pushed just movies. So it was really just I don't want to take credit for that. That was just we hired a marketing company. We went through a lot of names, and then I think in 1990 we changed the name to E, which worked out great.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer that all logos should sort of explain what the company is below it. So it was always E Entertainment Television, and then of course it got so big that you could drop off the Entertainment Television and everybody knows E.
Yeah.
I always do it that way.
Yeah, 100%. Like the Pepsi sign or whatever. Mercedes. I love that. When you guys eventually got bought out, were you happy with that at the time, or you wanted to stick it out and stay on, or you were ready to ride into the sunset?
Well, it was kind of a double-edged sword because I don't consider myself really a corporate kind of guy. But I didn't take a suit off for 10 years. So it was kind of a double-edged sword. Like I said, I was happy not to be in the corporate environment as much as I was anymore. But of course, it was my baby and it was hard to let go. But it got very big. So when you have a smaller company, you sort of handle every aspect of that company. When you get very big, like EGOT, you're just dealing with lawyers, accountants, financials. It's not really, you sort of move away from the creative part of it because you're just so big and just have so many different responsibilities at the time. So it was sad to leave E, but at the same time, it was refreshing to be out there again and just think of other great possibilities.
I imagine it was a nice payday.
It was a good payday. It was like they say in The Godfather, it was an offer I couldn't refuse. So I did it. But the thing is, what I wanted to get to before is not every idea is going to be successful. So even if you're determined, you just gotta pick yourself up if it doesn't work. I could probably say I've had more failures than successes. I mean, E is my biggest success, but there's been a lot of ideas that just didn't happen for whatever reason. And I always tell a story that I went in, there was a bank in Beverly Hills that wanted our business. So the president of the bank wanted to meet me. So I went in for a meeting and I sat in the conference room with the bankers and they said, she'll be in anytime. And she, the president of the bank finally walked in and she shakes my hand and she says to my face, she says, "Does everything you touch turn to gold?" And, I sort of, nodded and smiled. But the reality is that, I have plenty of losses. But, at the end of the day, plenty of failures, but at the end of the day, you just want to try to have more wins in the win column than in the loss column.
And I've heard you use the analogy before, like a rock star baseball player bats 400, most likely 300, meaning 3 hits, 7 times they get out of 10. And that's considered a Hall of Fame status. So entrepreneurs and people have to have that mindset as well.
Right. Absolutely. Think if someone gets let down every time there's a failure, think about a baseball player. So he gets up there and 7 times he's out and then he's like, 3 times he gets a hit, but in reality, that's a star, like you said. So
yeah,
you have to be very positive. Listen, when I used to listen to motivational tapes when I was in college trying to get this going, even LeBron James has a coach. Every great player has a coach. So you just want to, keep motivated. My father was one of my greatest, or probably my greatest motivators ever. My father went through a lot. He was a Holocaust survivor. He came here with no money. He made money. And he was a huge boxing fan. So he used to say to me, "Keep on punching, get up and keep on punching." So every time I would talk to him, I'd be down about something when I was growing up. He's like, "Get up and keep on punching." So, that's really what I believe.
Agreed.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Don't
you gotta have that
too much. Just keep going.
That's it. That resilience and that grit.
Right.
What do you think about the direction of E today?
I think it's lost its way a little bit. Unfortunately, a lot of times what happens in big networks is they just go for ratings and they lose their focus. So you could see a lot of networks just jumped on the reality television thing, or we did reality television, but E is probably a majority of reality television at this point. So it's sort of lost its way. I think TMZ went right by E. He was asleep and TMZ started and did an amazing job. E should be the premier news gathering source, entertainment news gathering source that Larry and I started in 1987. But they didn't get with it. They just went for the ratings. And that's what happens.
That's a great point you make, because I recently had Perez Hilton on the show, and he did something similar to TMZ, but more of like a brand to himself. But what you just said is a great point. E should have been that TMZ that was giving all the gossip in the news.
For the life of me, I don't know how E let TMZ just go right by him and become the premier entertainment news source. You
That's a
know, they
good
broke
point.
the Michael Jackson story. They broke everything. TMZ breaks every entertainment news story.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I just want to jump backwards for a second. When you were getting this thing up and running, before you were making money, I imagine it was challenging. How were you able to not persevere, but how were you able to be so resourceful to keep the dream alive until you did hit big?
Well, I was working in construction before that, so I was sort of making money and dumping it in E. We were very cheap. We did everything. Larry and I shared a hotel room when we didn't have money. We'd pull the mattress onto the floor, and one of us would sleep on the mattress on the floor, and one of us would sleep on the box spring on the bed, and that's true. Um, so we just did whatever we have to do to get it going.
Yeah, I love that. Whatever it takes.
Right.
Another thing I heard you say once, and it really resonated with me, is you always wanted your employees to have like a pen and a journal or a notebook so they could jot down ideas. Is that right?
Yeah, that's one of my so-called coaching demands of someone that works for me. Is I work out of a written notebook, and it's the healthiest thing. You're downloading everything in your brain onto a notebook, and I just do it very detailed, and I check off one by one, and I can't remember anything. So as long as I have my notebook with me, I can remember what I need to do, and it's just a checklist every day. It's a very, very business healthy thing to have.
I love it. Also, I don't believe in coincidences. And today I woke up, nice and early before the world wakes up, and I see out of nowhere, I get an alert on my phone that you were just featured in, I think, Media Magazine today, the day that you were going to have you on the podcast. Is that right? There was a nice publication about you today?
Yeah, there was. I have a self-storage company in the New York, New Jersey area. And I've had this company for a long time, even before I started E. But recently, in the last 5 years, like I said, I pivoted and went into real estate. I went into the self-storage business, which is probably the worst customer experience there is. So I came into the business with the plan to disrupt the industry and make it a more pleasurable experience, because everybody at some point in their life uses self-storage. So I reinvented the company and stressed great marketing, great customer service. But one of the things that I'm doing now is I'm advertising the brand through music and music videos. So I'm sort of disrupting the advertising industry at the same time, because you always remember great songs more than great commercials, and you remember where you were, and you remember, it's not, I don't really refer to it as a jingle, because the songs are 3 minutes long. They're real songs. They just promote Storage Blue and self-storage. And we did a great music video down here in Miami. So it just got released yesterday, and it's getting a lot of views, and it's going viral. So it's great. So there's a few publications that picked up on it.
Love it. Not surprised one bit. After you got bought out with E, did you get right to work on the newest venture, get the creative juices going, or did you take a minute to transition and kind of just have some Allen time?
When I sold E, I took a year off and I played golf, and I was going crazy. It's not what I wanted to do. I'll never retire. But it's
Love
also
that.
a healthy thing. I tell people that leave jobs or that get fired that you can make it a very positive situation, because in life, usually every day of your life is reactive. You wake up, you got to do this, there's things in the inbox, you return calls, everything's reactive. When you could take a break and you could think proactively, you could start to think about what's next, and the best thing for you and success. It's like if you take a football game, they go back into the huddle, they take a timeout, they think about the next play. So although I took time off from E, I thought about what my next, went back to the huddle and thought about what my next business venture would be. After E, I actually started a network called FX. That's FX Today. I sold it to Fox. And I also created a show that was the #1 show on the USA Network at that time, called Pacific Blue. It was about
Yes.
cops on bikes. We did over 100 episodes. So I sort of went in the creative direction, where I was creating television shows. I did about a half a dozen movies. so it's good. You take time off and you think about what your next move is.
Yeah, sometimes we need to get away, subtract, to have some addition. So you started FX and then sold it?
I never ran FX. We sold it before it went on the air. So we sold it to Fox.
I like that channel a lot.
Yeah, it really wasn't the same channel. My FX stood for Fitness and Exercise Television. Fox took it and split it into two. They took the name to show their old movies, and they started Fit TV at the same time. So it was really sort of a different situation, but I was working on FX for a long time as well.
And Pacific Blue had a hell of a run.
Yeah, that was on for 5 years. That was the #1 show on cable television for 5 years.
I love it.
So that worked out well.
Like Steve Jobs once said, I think you can never connect the dots looking forward and only looking backwards. And just like looking about the journey that we just discussed here, I know the audience is going to love you and find so much value in this. Like imagine you didn't sit next to that guy on that plane and pitch that guy when you knew you had 5 hours. Like, I don't believe in coincidences. It's just how everything happened. And there was so much persistence that was required getting up to that point. And like we said, you never threw in the towel. What a journey.
Right. I mean, I always say you have to have a little luck, but your persistence will bring you that luck. You have to make opportunities happen. It doesn't just not ring your doorbell, You have to make opportunities happen. In that time, I was speaking to whoever I could speak to. And of course, I got lucky, but it's because I spoke to, 10,000 people until somebody decided to listen,
It's so funny. I had a similar conversation on the show with Doug Ellen, the creator of Entourage.
Sure.
He said the same thing. He's like, you have to have a little bit of luck, but you get the luck by, being relentless and having that persistence to get to that point. Like, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Absolutely. That's absolutely true. And I know Doug for a long time, and it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
He worked hard.
Yes, he did. So what are you up to right now, besides that music video and everything else that's going on? Anything else?
Right now, I'm putting all my energies into Storage Blue, and even creating a Storage Blue entertainment division. So everything is going to be interwound. We're going to start and pursue a lifestyle brand. So it's going to be self-storage. It's going to be lifestyle. It's something that no one could figure out how I can combine self-storage and entertainment, but I'm doing it, and it's successful,
yes,
fun, and it's going to work out well.
I don't think anybody would bet against you.
All right, good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I have to ask you, because people always ask me, and I give them my answers, but I'd love to hear your perspective. Aside from your pops, who I knew played such a major role in your life, who were some other of your mentors? Who are some people that you sharpened the axe to or got inspiration from over the years?
Well, I always read Winston Churchill's quotes. I mean, no one's better than Winston Churchill when it comes to these great quotes, But what I've always done in the past is I've always studied and read these like billionaires like Steve Jobs and Ross Perot and even Howard Schultz, who started Starbucks. All these guys are amazing guys. And believe it or not, they all have a very similar story to my story. I was listening to an interview with Elon Musk, and it was like I was listening to, he was telling the story of Tesla, but it was like listening to the story of me starting E. They're all very, very similar. We all have something in common. It's all the, the drive to get it going. And everybody starts with nothing. Everybody goes through real tough times. You have ups and downs. I mean, there were days where I wouldn't get out of bed. I was like, I'm not leaving because, some negative information or news would happen to me. But it's all pretty much the same story,
And also one trait that all of you guys all have, to me, is being a visionary.
Right. Well, you have to be a visionary, but at the same time, I tell this to everybody, information is everything. Like I said before, just watch and learn and read and just think about, wouldn't it be great if, and pursue that idea, because ideas are out there. There's a million ideas. Everything you see in life, everything was created by someone. So you just think about that, from the car to the computer to a light bulb to anything you can think of was created by one person. So nothing's too big. You just have to come up with it and go for it. And if it doesn't work, come up with something else and go for it. you know?
It's so true, 100%. And for a lot of the audience, like a lot of people have good ideas, especially like coming out of the pandemic, people had some time, a lot of people have these big, great ideas, but most people sadly don't take that shot. What one suggestion could you give to someone that has a great idea, but is a little gun shy to take that shot?
Well, a lot of it depends on their financial situation because, if you're working, you're busy a lot. But I would say if you have the idea, take the shot. I mean, go for it. If it makes you happy, it's something you need to do. And never give up. Never, ever, ever give up. That's all I could say.
Absolutely love it. And like I said earlier, I know my audience is going to fall in love with you in 2 seconds. Where can they find you? Where can they support you? Where can they hang out with you? Where do you hang out the most? Instagram, where you at?
I'm at Instagram, just my name, Alan Mruvka. And from there, you could even check out my website, The Allen Company, and see everything I'm up to and what I'm doing, or check out storageblue.com.
I love it. And the CLS audience is very loyal, very engaging. They're definitely going to hit you up. If you guys heard the conversation, you love it, send Alan a message, say hello. He doesn't bite. He's very friendly, right?
Absolutely. DM me anytime on Instagram. I'll respond.
I love it. And Alan, I just want to say you don't shy away from your challenges as they've shaped you. It's something I find very relatable and liberating. You are the definition of resilience, grit, and heart, from following your passion and identifying an opportunity to bring an NTV-like hybrid to the movie business with the creation of the E-Entertainment conglomerate. Your journey is incredible. It's a testament to your work ethic and vision. You continue to reinvent and disrupt, and I personally can't wait to continue to watch you fly. I personally guarantee your best is yet to come. You're someone I admire, I appreciate, I respect very much, and this will absolutely not be the last time that you and I collaborate.
All right, beautiful. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you very much.
I appreciate it too. Thanks so much.
That was great, Alan. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Awesome interview.